Hey, it's Thursday, and that means it's time for another video log for hunting mirages, which, as you remember from last week, was the name that I have come up with for my music project. And I'm not going to call it my music project anymore. It's now Hunting Mirages. So this week I really wanted to get onto some songwriting because we're getting towards the back end of the month and I don't really have a song on the go yet for this month. And it didn't go so well. I've done a fair bit of writing in my diary about just looking for song ideas, I've written out a few lyrics, but nothing really gelled. I have made probably 3 or 4 tracks that I started, put some beats down, put some bass lines and strings and things on, but nothing really gelled together, and I'm deliberately trying not to worry too much about it. It's only the beginning of the year, I'm already kicking so many other goals that I'm not too worried, not going to put a lot of pressure on myself for that one. But in the meantime, what I have worked on this week is my performance, because the other big thing that I'm working on at the moment is getting a performance. My goal is by the end of this quarter, the next 3 months, to have a performance that I can give. I can, go to a public open mic or busking or something like that and actually perform some of my own songs for an audience. And so I've been working on some very basics. I may have explained in a previous video that I had been doing a vocal program called Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, which I had worked on very hard in 2015. And at the beginning of 2016, I kind of took a break from working on that to work on some other things, such as working on my songwriting. I've been working really hard at it. I did write a bunch of songs last year, but it's still, as I've spoken about previously, it's still a bit of a process that I'm working on. But now that I've put performance definitely as a near-term goal, I need to pick up the vocal lessons again. And I started, I started working again on Ken Temple Vocal Academy on Volume 3, which was where I was up to when I left off. And I found that I've actually made quite a bit of vocal progress in the last year. Even though I haven't been doing the program, I've just been singing songs, implementing the things that I'd already learned. And I've found that that's been, I've had like stealth progress without really, focusing on it, which is fantastic. And I found that, last night I was doing the Ken Temple Vocal Academy Volume 3 exercise set. And I went through the whole thing, and it's a pretty strenuous vocal workout. And I got to the end of it and I thought, you know what? I can do everything that this program lays out. I'm at least intermediate level at the final level of the program. And I thought, wow, I actually did it. Because honestly, in the end of 2014, when I bought that program, I was feeling pretty low about my vocal abilities. And thinking back to how I felt back then and just thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but what have I got to lose? And I'm there, and my vocal abilities are really quite astounding now compared to what they were then. And I was thinking last night I really need to record some new vocal covers. In particular, I want to go back and record some of the earliest vocal covers again that are the earliest vocal covers on this YouTube channel, and do a bit of like an A/B comparison. I'd like to record a vocal cover, release that video, and then do some like A/B comparisons of that same vocal cover from the videos that I took a year and a half to 2 years ago. I think that'd be really fascinating to have a look at the differences. So that's great. I mean, that is a really great thing to have achieved, even though I didn't achieve it this week or this year, but it's definitely great to just get straight back in the saddle with that program and realize how far I've come along. So that's great. Another thing I've been working on is I've been using a program called Melodics because I have a Launchpad Pro, which features in my images and what have you. And one of the things you can do with that is I found a program on the internet called Melodics that's like a finger drumming training program, and it gives you a whole bunch of different lessons that are just beats that you play along to. It's a little bit like Guitar Hero, where there's a timeline that's moving along and notes come up, and as they pass the line, you've got to hit the right notes on the Launchpad. But the thing is, it marks you really brutally on how accurate you are to the metronome, which is good because when I first started, I realized I was terrible at playing in time, and as I've worked through this Melodics teaching program, I'm getting a lot better at actually playing in time to a metronome and playing in time to music with the finger drumming, which is great. And I presume that's also going to translate to playing the piano as well, because when I think about my performances and how I want them to run, if I'm going to be playing my original songs, I write my songs for a full band, and I don't have a full band. So if I'm going to be able to play them, I'll probably have some backing tracks or be playing in a live looping sort of situation. And if I'm going to be doing that, I really need to be able to play in time to a metronome, or I'm not going to be able to play in time to myself or in time to a backing track, and it's just going to be sloppy. So working on Melodics and improving significantly, which is great. And the third thing I've been doing this week in terms of performance is I've been working on fry screaming. Now, I've always wanted to, I love heavy metal, grew up in the 90s and was just all about 90s metal and grunge, and I still love it. And all of my absolute favorite vocalists do some level of screaming. It's not always all growls and screams. I like vocalists who have a very varied range. So people like Mike Patton from Faith No More, who was my original vocal hero, to people like Devin Townsend, whose t-shirt I'm wearing, or Cell Dweller, whose t-shirts I'm wearing in just about every other video I've done so far. All of these guys have incredible, extreme vocal abilities, and I've always wanted to be that kind of vocalist. And I tried when I was young, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I just thought I didn't have it, and I gave up. And even a year ago, after I'd made some progress with my clean singing with Ken Temple and Vocal Academy, even after having made some progress there, I tried with some videos, some YouTube videos that I found on fry screaming, and I had a go then, and didn't really get anywhere, wasn't getting it, couldn't even do the first level of things that they tell you to do. But I decided to have another crack at it this week, and I've actually got on the first step, which is fantastic. And one of the things that I've learned about learning vocally is that so much of learning to sing and learning to do things with your vocal tract and learning how to have tone and all those things is that it's really about the whole process of learning to sing is about taking control of muscles that you previously have no control over, and using them in much more extreme ways than you thought or that you would ever have used them just in natural speaking. I think most people who can't sing, or most people just using their normal speaking voice in regular day-to-day life, would use 10% or less of everything that the voice is capable of. And just because you've never used it doesn't mean it's not there. It just means you don't have much control over it. It's kind of like, I like to use the analogy, it's like, for instance, being able to raise your eyebrow. That's not something that a lot of people can do, but you can actually fairly easily learn how to do it. And when you're first trying, you're like, and you can't figure it out. You're like, I have no control over those muscles. How am I going to do that? But then if I told you that the way that you raise your eyebrow, like one eyebrow, is just to raise both and then pull one down, and then that's actually the way that you do it. You'll still struggle a little bit, but it'll be you'll start to you'll do this, and then it'll be like this, and then eventually you figure it out and you get it, and you're like, and then in doing that, you realize that you've now gained control of a muscle that you didn't previously have. And singing is very much like that, and so is screaming and fry screaming, and which is why I decided to try again this week, because I thought, look, it's just about using my throat in shapes that I have not previously used, and I just need to find them. And the difficulty with learning to sing is that all of the muscles are inside and you can't see them and you can't point to them. When someone else is singing, you can't see exactly what they're doing. All you can hear is the result, which doesn't give you much to go on. But anyway, I had to go at fry screaming. I found a really good video by Rocky Music Studio, who are actually an online teaching school who teach heavy, like extreme vocals for punk and metal. And I found a video of theirs on YouTube that was about how to get like the very basics of fry screaming going. And so I'm going to do a little demo for you now, because I'm really interested to actually record how it is now, so that later on down the track, when I finally figured it out, I can do comparisons and talk about the progress of it. So a fry scream, for those who don't know, is that very high-pitched kind of screaming that, what's the best way to describe it? If you remember the Nazgul in Lord of the Rings, the kind of sound that they make, or other. There's two main ways that people scream in metal. There's either like the growl, which is like sort of thing, and then there's the scream, which is like sort of thing. I can't do it. That was a really lame impression, but it's very high pitched and like that. So the reason it's called a fry scream is because it's based on vocal fry. And fry is that sound that your voice makes when it kind of breaks, which anyone can do, by the way. All you have to do is just when you, like, for example, if you sigh, if you just go, and just that sound at the end, that is vocal fry. And people who can fry scream have learned how to take control of that sound and just ramp it up, turn all the knobs up to 11, because that's where all good knobs go, and turn it into a sound that is so loud and so extreme that it sounds like a screech. And so, when you look at videos online that teach you about fry screaming, they all say, just start with the just keep practicing until it gets stronger. And so you try that, and you're like, and you think, how in the hell can this turn into the sort of fry screams that I hear from the likes of Marilyn Manson or all sorts of metal artists that have incredible fry screams that sound absolutely massive. But, and that was about the extent, when I tried a year ago, that was the extent of what I could do. It was just, but knowing what I know now about voice, it's really, the reason why my fry scream is that weak is because the muscles that I'm using are not strong. I don't have the control over them that I want, and I don't really know exactly which direction to pull them in order to make it work. And so I gave it a red hot go the other night, and I actually made some progress. And it's difficult, as with any of these things, when you first learn it, you'll make a little bit of progress, and then you'll immediately lose it, and you try to get it back, and you're like, I can't do it. I lost it. And I found that with this fry screaming, I'll be like, and starting to get it. And then if I just sing, and like a normal singing voice note, I lose it straight away because my vocal tract just pulls itself, using muscle memory that I've bedded in over the last couple of years of vocal training, just pulls itself out of that configuration. It's just like, we're not doing that anymore. And then trying to get it back in, I've got no muscle memory for that shape that makes the fry. And so I don't have it. So I'm going to try right now on camera to find it again. And this will give you a good idea of where I'm up to with this. So here we go. Finding vocal fry. And this is coming to me much quicker tonight than it did the other night. It took me about an hour to get that far. And another thing about learning vocals, even just with my regular singing voice, is that you need to get over the fact you're going to make a bunch of really silly noises for quite a while. And the quicker that you understand that that's what's going to happen and you just accept it, the quicker you can experiment and find those muscles. And you just really got to focus on what's going on in here and try to figure out what are the right directions to pull your vocal muscles in order to get the sound you want. So let's have another go, see how much further I can take this now. See, I've already lost it again a little bit just because I was talking in my speaking voice for a little while. So now I've got to find it again. See, and once you start to get that sound and find it, most good metal vocalists are actually mixing that noise with a bit of a low roar, which I already have a bit of that. If you look back in my channel, you'll find that I do a video. I've got a vocal cover of Korn, I Did My Time, and I'm pretty proud of that one. That was, for that one, it was more that kind of thing. So it was like, I did my time. Now, if I can do that and then try to introduce a little bit of that fry on top, it kind of gives you a fuller sound because the fry is very... I will find it eventually. But this is what it looks like trying to learn a new vocal ability. And that's about it for this week. I specifically wanted to do a few of those Vocal Fry demos because I think that'll be really good to have in a couple of months' time when I've really nailed this. So that'll do it for tonight. Next week, I have my kids all week, so it's going to be... My challenge for next week is to, A, do anything musical while I've got my kids around for a whole week. I do have the week off, but, you know, when I've got my kids, I like to spend time with them and focus on them. So I generally don't get a lot of music done. And B, put out a video next Thursday when my kids are here, which is going to be fun. All right. Thanks for watching. See you next time.